Preparing for a job interview can be very unnerving and causes a lot of people stress and anxiety. And what we're going to look at today in this program is we're going to look at how to prepare for a job interview. And specifically, we're going to look at 4 ways that you can not only make your presentation more effective, but you can also relax more. So how do you prepare for a job interview? Well, of course, there's a lot of things that you might want to do, like researching something about the company, looking at their website, but we're not going to get into that part of it because that kind of information is available everywhere. What we're going to look at is something that most people don't think of, and one of the first things is that you need to take the pressure off yourself when you're preparing by getting clear on what you don't need to do and what you're not going to do in that interview. Because if you can get clear about that, it really helps you relax. So for example, you're not going to recite your biography. You're not going to recite your resume. You're not going to go through your experience and your abilities like bullet points, like you're giving the narration to a PowerPoint presentation. You're certainly don't want to sound like you're going through reading your resume. So you don't have to memorize all that stuff. You don't have to think about the order it goes in. The other thing you're not going to do is you're not going to brag. You don't have to be a phony in talking about yourself in ways that makes you sound like you're being a braggart. You're also not going to try to mold yourself into what you think they want, because if you do, you most likely will get it wrong, and it'll backfire on you. And in fact, if you mold yourself too much and then you end up getting the job, it may end up being that you don't really like the job. The other thing you're not going to do is you're not going to convince them. You're not trying to convince them or persuade them. You're trying to let them get to know you and let who you are make the sale itself. The other thing you're not going to do is you're not going to be perfectly calm. It's okay to be nervous. So there's nothing more anxiety-provoking than to be told that you're in a situation where you need to be perfectly calm and all you can think about is how nervous you are. That just makes your stress go through the roof. So you just accept the fact that you're gonna be a little rattled, and that's okay. So take the pressure off yourself by being clear about what you don't have to do in the job interview. That's number 1. Number 2, and this is the most important one, is your purpose is to help them understand 3 key things about yourself. I'm a hard worker, or I'm a problem solver, or I'm really good with working the relationships that are involved with getting the project completed. I'm an excellent organizer, whatever it is. But you need to look at yourself and look at 3 really key important things about not just what you've done, but who you are in whatever job you find yourself in. And then once you have those 3 things, then you want to think of a key story or stories, but sometimes it's only one. But one story that is very personal and recounts an experience that you had, maybe on the job or even off the job, but something where it really drives home and illustrates this one aspect about who you are. So, it could be, you're working for someone and you finally got the project done, and you describe in great detail what it felt like to be talking to one of your coworkers about where you were and how you got there and what it felt like to be in that position. So you want to describe a very specific incident and tell a story that illustrates this quality that you have, whether it's you're a hard worker, you're an organizer, you're a leader, you're insightful, whatever you say your passions are about in the workplace, then you need to have a very good story that appeals to all five senses, where you paint a word picture for the people interviewing you. And guess what? If you do that, that will stick in their minds a lot more than the people that come in and interview and just go through a list of what they've accomplished, because they already have that on their resume. And so you want to tell a story and make it so that it really connects with who you are and it's something they can relate to. So in preparing for a job interview, number one is you want to take some pressure off yourself by being clear about the things you don't have to do in the interview. The second thing is you want to be clear that your purpose is to help them understand three key things about you. And you want to have really good stories for each one of those things. Now, the third aspect of preparing for a job interview is that you want to be ready to answer questions. Now, how do you prepare for that? Well, what you want to do is you want to think about the kinds of questions they might ask you, even if those don't end up being the ones they do ask you. And you want to practice answering that question in terms of the three stories that you've told. So once you have those stories and you're comfortable with it, it's easy to relate your answers to their questions back to the story. Because you can say, like I said earlier, I'm a hard worker, so I know that even though I might have to learn some extra things to get that done, I know myself that I will get that done. And it'll have some credibility because it'll plug back in and tie into the story that really was authentic. You were telling the truth about yourself. Now, the fourth aspect of preparing for an interview is being able to ask questions that reveal something about yourself. A lot of people overlook this. They don't realize that when they ask a question, you're often the person asking the question is revealing more about themselves than they're really asking the other person to reveal. So, for example, let's say you're in a job interview, and you say, I was wondering about this company's philosophy of training. I've read a little bit about it on the website, but I'm interested to know, just what's the culture here in terms of when you have people reaching for high goals and they encounter certain skills they need to complete something or reach those goals. What does the company do about that? And do they support a training, or is it more of a culture of, you're on your own, figure it out? And I've worked in both, or I can work in both, but I just wanted to hear you guys talk about that a bit. Now, you can see when I ask a question like that, I'm revealing a lot about myself. I'm revealing that training is important, that I like to learn, that I like to develop professionally, and that I really do expect the company to have some resources for me in that endeavor. So I hope you found this helpful. These are four key points for preparing for a job interview. I'm Dr. Greg Hamlin. Thanks for listening.